The book which I am waiting is titled as Hide and Seek, and this is selected 50 poems of mine translated into English and published by Kadalu Prakashana, which is a branch of Peak Publishers from Sheffield in UK. When they approached me, this publication is run by Geraldine Rose Gowda and Sridhar Gowda, who live in Sheffield. And when they approached me, and now that is coming out bilingual, all my poems I translate with a friend called Chitra Panikar, and these 50 selected poems in English with the Kannada source text will be brought out. It should be out in January. It's called Hide and Seek. The speciality of the book is like it's not after 50 poems in translation in English. There is a section called plurilingual translations, where I have included my poem translated into many languages, a sample from each language. Like for example, a poem which is translated into Galician, a poem which is translated into Armenian, Romanian, Slovenian, Spanish, Cebuano, Vietnamese, and these languages, and I just have carried the script so that most of us, we don't even know how the script looks. So visually I want to make a kind of a nice kind of visual, and also those translators who have been working with me and translating, I also want to thank them through this book. And maybe somewhere, some part of the world, somebody picks a book, and if that person can find their language and if they can read my poem in their language, it would be a different experience. And the book will have translator's note by two people. One is Chitra Panikar, who has translated into English. The other one is an Italian translator who is Nicola Vardarame. It's so strange, Nicola Vardarame is a translator who translates from Arabic and Turkish into Italian and vice versa. I believe when Nicola went to Turkey, another poet friend of mine referred my poem, and he had already translated one from English and got back to me. After which me and Nicola, he was interested in my poem, started working on this translation. And almost all the translations here in this book are done directly from Kannada. And I've tried to avoid a mediator language except a very few things, and because the music is something which is very important for me. Like for example, the Italian translations of my poem which Nicola is doing, both of us actually work and English is used as a tool. And we just realized the experience of translating Kannada into Italian is amazing. I don't know any Italian, he doesn't know any Kannada, but the sounds are coming, the music of the language, everything is being brought beautifully. The whole exercise of translation, and this book is not just a poetry collection, it imbibes many qualities. It is one piece of translation which has many translations in it, and visually it's a different book. And yeah, I'm just waiting for the book, and I'm excited. January 2014 it will be launched in Bangalore, and later on it will be the book for the readers. No, it's not certain theme, but it is, see, I have 3 collections of poems in Kannada. This book represents my writing till now, and after the 3 collections I have written many more poems which I haven't brought out yet. So in a way, this is a selected 50 poems from my body of writing till now. And yeah, like this book is extremely important for me because it is it sort of represents, see, till now whatever I have written, I have come through the cultural spaces which Kannada scenario has gone through, like from the 70s to 80s, 80s to 90s, 90s to till now, the socio-political and literary scenarios within the Kannada cultural space has been changing, and this transformation also influences me as a writer, and my writing has changed along. This book in a way represents that. It just doesn't represent Mamta Sagar's writing, it also represents a language community, a language culture's walkway, the path, and the way I relate to it, and how the language from a small pocket of somewhere poetry can take it out and spread it far and wide. Like when I saw my poem in Armenian translation, it looked so beautiful, the script is so beautiful, and when I looked at it, then I decided I think this should go into my book, because I had never seen anything like that, It is a visual piece, it is a work of art. And my poem, if the size, the shape and everything can bring out a visual from somewhere, like when I read in Kannada, previously I also said, for a non-Kannadiga, completely who does not know what Kannada is, for that person it is a music. This could be a visual. See, poetry can transcend words, it can transcend silences. So, these are extensions of my poem. Sort of, yes, I have done that. And by the end of it, like now when I began writing, I was reading, but it was not sufficient for me. Gradually I started performing, but when I was reading, I knew that whatever I wrote and the book which got published, that is just a part of my poetry. Poetry happens when you start reading it, when you start performing it, and when you start rendering it, You just pick the poem out of the page and then the poem happens. And I enjoy reading not just my poems, anything given to me, I would juggle with it and play with it, and I love that. Okay. See, most of the translators, most of the poems which come into the book, like the plurilingual section, all the translators, almost all of them, I have met them in different festivals, in different workshops, and therefore I need not have, I haven't used English. I sat with the person who is translating with me and did it through Kannada and their language. English was just a tool or a medium to communicate, but the music of Kannada, the music of Slovenian, music of Kannada, music of Spanish, music of Kannada, the French, everything has directly happened. And some, for example, I haven't met the Italian translator, but we started doing it through Skype. So again, this was very easy for us. I would read and this person would read. I do the same thing in English as well. When I do with Chitra, I read it in Kannada and then we draft, then she works, then again I work. It doesn't happen on one sitting. It's a long process, Every poem demands a lot of things because music of language, of this and the source language and into which it is being converted into. I am not saying that it's translated into. The other version of this poem in Romanian or Armenian or Vietnamese, that has a special body of itself because it is now located into that sound culture and that language culture. Therefore, my poem leads to many poems. Those might not be my poem. Those are the poems of those people who have brought it into their language, music. That's how I treat this book. This book, though it is my poem and edited and 50 selected poems which are included in a book, it is the contribution of so many translators, the plurilingual part of it. The poem actually comes to me sometimes like a hum. I start humming something, then it happens a poem. Or I start working on an image or a metaphor, then it happens a poem. I take a long time to work on the poem, it just doesn't happen once. I keep editing, I keep working. I am very particular that I read loud. I don't quietly write poem, I recite. And for me, the composition, the music, the meaning, everything should happen, and it takes a long time for me to etch it properly, chisel it, sharpen it, edit it, everything, So sometimes the poem might take a month, sometimes a few months, sometimes I'll be working simultaneously on 2 poems. One happens, it stops, the other continues. It's like that. When you have this book, read aloud, whatever language you want, It's in English and Kannada. Read Kannada loudly, read English loudly. If you are an Armenian, try reading the Armenian sample of the poem. One poem will be there for you. If you are a Romanian, there is one poem for you. If you are a French, you have a poem. If you are a Spanish, you have a poem. And if you are a Turkish, you have a poem. If you are a Malayali, you have a poem. If you are a Bengali, you have a poem. If you are a Marathi, yes, you have a poem. A Tamil, yes. So, a sample of all these are in the plurilingual section. And this is the book. ಆ ಕನಸು ಈ ಕನಸು ಕನಸುಗಳು ಬೆರೆತು ಬೆಸೆದು ಒಂದರಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಎರಡು ಒಂದೇ ಅನ್ನೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಒಂದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಕನಸುಗಳು ಹಾಗೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಕೈ ಕೈ ಹಿಡಿದು ತುಟಿಗೆ ತುಟಿ ಮೈಗೆ ಮೈ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಮುದ್ದು ಮಾಡು ನನ್ನೇ ನೋಡು ಅನ್ನೋ ಅವಳ ಕನಸಿಗೆ ಅವನ ಕನಸು ಮುಗುಳು ನಗು ಅವನ ಕನಸು ಕಣ್ಣ ತುಂಬ ಕನಸಂತೆ ಅವಳನ್ನೇ ತುಂಬಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಅವನ ಆಸೆ ಸುತ್ತ ಅವನಾಸೆಯಾಗಿ ಸುತ್ತು ಆಸೆ ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಅವನ ಕನಸು ಅವಳಾಗಿ ಅವಳ ಕನಸು ಅವನಾಗಿ ಅವನು ಅವಳುಗಳನ್ನು ಮೀರಿ ಅವರಿಬ್ಬರು ಕನಸಾಗಿ ಕನಸ ಕಾಣುತ್ತಾ ಕನಸುಗಳಿಗೆ ನನಸಾಗೋ ವ್ಯಾಮೋಹ ಸದಾ ಅವಳನ್ನೇ ನೋಡುತ್ತಾ ಮುದ್ದಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಕಣ್ಣ ತುಂಬ ತುಂಬಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಅವನ ಕನಸಿಗೆ ಅವಳಾಳಕ್ಕೂ ಈಜೋ ಆಸೆ ಅವಳಿಗೋ ಅವನ ಸುತ್ತ ಗಿರನೆ ತಿರುಗುತ್ತ ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಚ್ಚಿ ಬಾಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತ ಕೊಕ್ಕಿ ಕುಣಿಯುವ ಆಸೆ ಅವಳ ಮೈ ಮೃದು ನವಿರು ರೇಷ್ಮೆ ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಪುಕ್ಕ ಬೀಸಿ ಹಾರುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಕಾಶದಗಲಕ್ಕೂ ಹರಡಿದ ಆಸೆಗಳ ವಿಸ್ತಾರ ಈಜುವ ಕನಸು ಹಾರುವ ಕನಸು ಈಜುವ ಕನಸು ಹಾರುವ ಕನಸು ಹೊತ್ತು ಹೊರಡುತ್ತಾರೆ ಮೀನಾದರೆ ಅವನು ಹಕ್ಕಿಯಾಗುತ್ತಾಳೆ ಅವನು ಆಳಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಳು ಎತ್ತರಕ್ಕೆ ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ಹುಡುಕಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೊರಡುತ್ತಾರೆ ಕಣ್ಣು ಮಿಟುಕಿಸದೆ ಅಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಫಳ ಹೊಳೆದು ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರಾಗಿ ಬೆರೆತು ಸರಸರನೆ ಸುಳಿದು ನೀರ ನಡಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಳ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಗುರುತು ಹುಡುಕುತ್ತಾ ಕನಸ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಆಳಕ್ಕೆ ಧುಮುಕುತ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನು ಅಷ್ಟಗಲ ಆಕಾಶದ ಆಚಿಂದೀಚೆ ಹುಡುಕಿದರೂ ಅವನ ಇರವಿಲ್ಲ ಮೈಮೇಲಾಡಿದ ಮೃದು ಸ್ಪರ್ಶ ಉದ್ದುದ್ದ ಬೆರಳು ನುಡಿಸಿದ ಮೋಹ ಬಿಕೋ ಅನ್ನುವ ಆಕಾಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಕನಸುಗಳಿಗೆ ಜಾಗವಿಲ್ಲ ಕೆಳಗೆ ನೀರೊಳಗೆ ಸುಳಿವ ಅವನು ಆಕಾಶದ ಅವಳ ಕಂಡು ಆಗಾಗ್ಗೆ ಜಿಗಿಯುತ್ತಾನೆ ಅವಳು ಬಗ್ಗಿ ಬಂದು ಅಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಗಿರಕಿ ಹೊಡೆಯುತ್ತಾಳೆ ಜೊತೆಗಿದ್ದ ಕನಸು ಕೈಗೆಟುಕದ ನನಸು ನನಸಿನ ಗಳಿಗೆ ಕನಸು ಒಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ ಈಗ ಕನಸಿನ ನೆನಪಷ್ಟೇ ನನಸಾದ ಕನಸುಗಳಿಗೆ ಕನಸಾಗೋ ವ್ಯಾಮೋಹ ನನಸುಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಕನಸಬೇಕಿದ್ದರೆ ಸಮುದ್ರ ಸೀಳಿ ಭೂಮಿ ಆಕಾಶಗಳು ಒಂದಾಗಬೇಕು